All right, welcome to stream, everyone. I got a good one to talk about here today. I'm talking right now. I've got birds, bees, and trees in the chat, and we were just talking about this anti-bot proposal here, the anti-bot measures in Modern, and how Matt said that there would be a much easier to implement the anti-bot proposal and have a format with 50% of the rewards that Wild can still participate in, which by virtue means 50% would go to Modern. And he said, instead of creating an entirely new play mode, which would be a pretty big project, what if we instead tried implementing anti-bot measures in Modern format only? This would be much easier to actually implement and try out, and bots would still have a format with 50% of the rewards that they can participate in, that being Wild. Now, that being said, there's been a lot of debate over in Mav chat recently about the SPS distribution of those rewards, and the fact that, yes, it may be split equally when we're talking about battle rewards and the SPS that you earn from battles, but it is not happening in the case of the distribution between Modern and Wild formats for the end of season and focus reward chests. So I went ahead and I made a little bit of a Hive blog post about it, and I'm going to make this video here too, just so I can kind of present a possible solution to the problem. And again, it's just a possible solution. Matt has said time and time again, especially in the past town hall, that he's working on changing the player experience and the way that everything's going to work. So we'll see if this is something he's going to revamp. But here's just an idea of a possible way that we can go ahead and we can fix that. So I'm going to kind of like read it verbatim in a lot of ways for you guys, but I want to kind of put that out there. Let me know how you feel about this. Is this a way that it can be fixed? Do you feel like this is the way it's going to be fixed in the future? Obviously, the easiest thing to do is just completely remove bots from all formats, because then you don't have to worry about any of this. Because part of the problem is that bots are just so plentiful in the Wild format that if the SPS pool for EOS rewards and for focus chests isn't split between them, that Wild is clearly just going to eat up all those rewards because they have so many more players. So without further ado, in this post, I intend to identify the issues with the disparity between the SPS rewards and end of season chests and focus chests between the Modern and Wild leagues, as well as a proposed solution to the problem. Now, this is all based on the premise that the reward pool is supposed to be split 50% for Modern and 50% for Wild, which again is happening as far as battle rewards, but not as far as EOS chests and the focus chests, because there's no way to differentiate, right? So the problem itself. Currently, SPS rewards are split 50-50 for battle rewards, but not for the EOS chests nor focus chests, since they both use the same focus points and seasonal points as the tracker every time a battle is won. There's no distinction to where the reward points, the RP, came from between the formats. Therefore, there's no way to distinguish if the focus points and seasonal points were generated in Wild or Modern. Now, that's the reason why they're both feeding off of the same reward pool at this point with the focus point and the end of season reward chests, is because there's no way to determine and distinguish where the battle points actually came from. Now, this causes a problem as it allows the Wild format, which consists primarily of bots, to drain more than their share, which is 50%, of an SPS pool that should be split evenly between Modern and Wild. As a consequence, the SPS rewards for Modern focus and EOS chests are much lower than they should be, since the Wild format accounts for around 20x more games played due to automation. Now, here's the actual graph, and if we were to go over to Peak Monsters and we were to explore the dashboard, we'll just go and we'll take yesterday as an example, okay? We can see that in Wild, there were 430,000 games played in Wild. 430,000, and in Modern there were 23,000. So that's literally like 20x, basically almost 20x the amount of games that were played in Wild versus Modern. So clearly, if there's that many more games being played in Wild than Modern, then Wild is getting a disproportionate amount of the SPS that should be split between Modern and Wild evenly, right? They're just getting so much more. So a solution. The easiest way that I can think of, and again, this is without removing bots from Wild, would be to split the reward points earned into two separate trackers, and you end up with one tracker for Wild and one tracker for Modern. So the reward points that would be generated in Wild would increase the Wild focus points and seasonal points, and the reward points generated in Modern would increase the Modern focus points and seasonal points. And since you would now have a clear distinction between where the reward points were earned, we would be able to better split those SPS rewards between the leagues as was intended, with the 50% rewards going to Modern and 50% going to Wild. Since the code already exists, it would be a matter of creating separate claim screens for each of the Wild and Modern formats for both the Focus chest as well as the EOS rewards. And perhaps since there's already a Modern and Wild toggle that exists, the claims could just exist within each of those pages instead of being one combined claim that's shared between both screens. Because if we were to go right now back to our home screen here, our battle screen, you see that under ailments here where you have your quest, typically when it's time to go and collect the chest, it would say right here next to the chest, it would say claim, and up here next to the seasonal chests, it would say claim when they're ready as well. Now, you click on Wild, and you still have exactly the same screen pretty much, but now it's flipped to your Wild battles and everything. So basically, if the coding is there and it's easy to implement, you could just have the claim button be for the Wild chest that you've claimed when you're on Wild, same with the seasonal rewards you collected on Wild, and the Modern claim chests, the claim button be there for the Modern rewards, as well as the Modern Focus, as well as the Modern seasonal rewards. So you'd end up actually having to click 4 times instead of 2. Every day you would click on your Focus Point reward chest, and then at the end of the season, you click on your seasonal chests for Modern, and then you do the same for Wild. You click on Wild, and you click on Modern. So it would really split things up the way that it's kind of like intended, but that's pretty much one of the only ways I can think of that you'd be able to determine where were these focus points earned. Was it Modern or was it Wild? Now, that creates a few considerations. So the first thing is that would the focus point and seasonal point difficulty requirements increase to earn chests between each league in a continual fashion as it is now? So what that means is the difficulty increases. You get your first chest that costs you 1 point. You get your second chest that costs you 2 points. You get your third chest that costs you 4 points. You get your fourth chest that costs you 8 points, then 16, then 32. Now, would you have it work that way within each one of the leagues? So in Modern League, it goes 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. And in Wild League, it goes 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. Or would it be kind of combined? Would it be like, no, doesn't matter if it's Wild, doesn't matter if it's Modern. Your first chest is 1, your next chest is 2, then 4, 8, 16, regardless of whether or not it's collected between Modern or Wild. So to rephrase that, would the RP requirements start at 0 and move up for each league, or would they continue to share the same focus point and seasonal point totals for the purpose of the focus and end of season chests? Now, there are benefits to each one of those views. It's not just cut and dry of, oh, well, one's definitely better than the other. So the first one is if they were to continually increase in difficulty like they do now. So we remain status quo. Your first one costs 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and so on. Then the reward card distribution remains static. Now this is important because that means no inflation, as the same amount of chests would be given out since the difficulty to earn each chest gets progressively higher under the current system. This may not incentivize playing in both formats, however, as there's no additional benefit to doing so. Now, if they had separate trackers, you'd be able to earn more chests because you'd have a lower difficulty in each league as you start. So like I said, Modern would be 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and Wild would be 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, instead of it always being, no matter if it's Wild or Modern, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. So that would mean that each chest would have less overall SPS because more chests are being opened, but there would be more reward card inflation because more chests means more reward cards being opened since more chests are opened. This would, however, encourage playing in both formats since more chests could be earned by doing so. So to make an example of this consideration, if you could right now play in just Modern and you could earn 10 focus chests, but under the new system of 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, like not progressively harder between the two of them, you could earn 12 because you'd earn 6 in Modern and 6 in Wild. Then that would be the difference between the two examples, right? One of them you get more chests because you can earn more for the same amount of points used between Modern and Wild. And the other one, like we have now, you just earn the same amount of chests. It doesn't matter where the RP come from. I personally lean towards option A, since that's the status quo right now. It would require less coding, and it results in less reward card inflation and more SPS chests on a per chest basis. But the side effect is that less Modern players would go into Wild, therefore you wouldn't invest in as many Wild cards because there's no additional benefit to you playing in both Modern and Wild, because you won't be earning those extra chests. And conversely, Wild players wouldn't buy as many Modern cards, as there'd be no benefit to playing both formats either, since the same amount of chests can be earned just playing in Wild. So the play and economic benefits to each of those sides aren't as clear-cut as they may appear. You may say, no, that's crazy. Why would you ever want to go ahead and make it so it's 1, 2, 4, 8, 16 for Modern and 1, 2, 4, 8, 16 for Wild instead of them both being on the same chain? That would be to encourage play in both formats, right? Because if you could earn more chests playing in both, then maybe it's to your benefit to buy a few of those Wild cards so you can really succeed in Wild, or to, instead of only playing in Wild, also branch out and play in Modern to earn again those reward chests, more of them. And that to be honest, might encourage you to buy more Modern packs if you're a primarily Wild player to be successful in Modern, so you would be able to actually win there and get the bonus chests. So that's kind of the way that I look at it, at least, is that there's pluses and minuses on both sides, but one causes more card inflation, and that's if we were to go ahead and kind of start from zero both ways. Now, the second consideration that was brought up to this when I kind of talked about it a little bit in chat was, how would the daily chest limits be impacted? Because some people might not want to play in both formats. They might be specialists in only one format, right? So we would not want to negatively impact the play experience of those who would prefer to stay in only one league, even though the focus point and seasonal points would now be split. And that leads to the consideration of how to deal with the daily chest limits. Would we still have 30 chest limit? Would we have a 30 chest limit in each league? So this would allow up to 60 chests a day instead of just 30. And it would encourage a lot more play between both leagues, because if you can now earn 60 chests, maybe you'll want to earn 30 in Wild, and you'll want to earn 30 in Modern. That's a lot more play points being purchased, and a lot more play time going into the game, right? But the trade-off is that it would obviously impact those reward cards and their inflation, and it would dilute the SPS rewards in each chests, since more chests would be opened. Now, another one of the options for that is you could restrict the maximum chests to only 15 in each league, right? That would still be 30 total, but now you could only earn 15 in Modern, and if you wanted to get up to the 30 chests, you'd have to earn the other 15 in Wild. Now, this wouldn't impact any players who earn under 15 chests daily, but those who play in only one league and buy energy to max out 30 chests a day would now not be able to do so, and would have to play both formats to continue to earn their previous chest amounts. I think that this would mostly impact like bronze silver players, the types who are like, well, for one DEC, I bought an extra energy, and then I use that energy, and it earned me half of an SPS, which is worth more than one DEC, and that's how they keep rolling and getting their 30 chests a day, is they get a win, get SPS, burn the SPS for DEC, spend one DEC, for example, to get another energy, and then they just keep playing until they have the 30 chest, which I think is kind of an exploit anyway, if you're able to buy energy for less than what you're actually having to spend into getting the rewards, right? That to me sounds broken anyway. Now, you can also have a 30 limit combined between both leagues, which is kind of like what we have right now. You can only get a maximum of 30 chests. This will continue the status quo of a 30 chest limit, regardless of in which league they are earned and the difficulty required to earn them. And if we did need to implement a separate tracker that said total number of chests earned today, or even just split it up into one tracker that says chests earned today in Modern, and a second tracker that says chests earned today in Wild, then that's also a consideration we could do as well. So my final thoughts on the subject are, one way or another, the SP should be divided evenly between the leagues for purposes of focus and EOS chests and not be a combined pool. This was always the intention in creating the anti-bot measures that were outlined in that Pete D article that I read you, with again the emphasis being placed on the following quote, which would be, this would be much easier to implement and try it with bots, and you'd still have a format with 50% of the rewards that they can participate in. But like I said, right now that 50% is not solely in Modern. It's being eaten up by mods because the focus chest and EOS chests are still coming out of a combined pool with 20x more games happening in Wild than in Modern. So Modern is not getting its 50% of the share. Wild is getting like 80% of all of that, and Modern is maybe getting 20%. So since right now the objective has not been achieved due to the mismatched proportions of the SPS distribution between focus and EOS chests in modern and wild, we need to come up with a solution for implementation. This post is just a possible solution to that problem with considerations that need to be taken into effect. Since the rewards will be impacted, whatever we decide will come down to a DAO proposal and vote, but I hope that the post has at least elicited discussion on a possible solution, or at least highlighted the problem for further discussion. Thank you for reading, and in this case, thanks for tuning in and listening to me. I hope that if you guys have any questions or comments about this, definitely make sure to drop me a message and I'll try and get back to you about it. What do you guys think about this kind of a proposal, splitting it up and having modern and wild be tracked separately, so we can also separate those SPS reward shares for the focus chests as well as the end of season chests? And I think that'd be a great thing for modern, because if you think about it right now, if we want to focus on getting more players into modern and more players buying rebellion packs, the best way to do that would be to incentivize modern play. And what better a way to incentivize modern play than make those rewards just so juicy that you just want to play in modern? Because instead of your focus chest having like 1.2 SPS in it or whatever like that, it now has 10 SPS as like a minimum in each one of your focus chests or EOS chests, because they're not all being eaten up by wild, right? So let me know what you think about that. And if you're not signed up yet for the channel, drop me a like, share, subscribe, whatever you're supposed to do. And thanks for tuning in, my friends. See you next time. I'm the Psy. Till we meet in Splinterland. Peace.